Good evening. My name is Edwardo Higginbottom III, and I come here today to lament. Lament about my mother. My late mother. Geraldine Rhubarb Higginbottom I. She always went by the name of Ruby because she found that the name Geraldine and Rhubarb were odd. I tend to agree with her. I lament about my mother as she put me through a terrible time as a child, and it didn't get much better as an adult. One story that has always haunted my memory was the time when I got a rash in my nether regions. I of course told my mother straight away at the age of 8, who else do you talk to? Being that there was no father in sight and that the few friends that I did have were imaginary. Not many children want to play with someone called Edwardo Higginbottom III. Children can be mean. So of course I run to my mummy and say, "Mummy, I have a rash in my nethers." Mummy straight away got out the butter and went a-scrubbing. She explained to me that butter was very fatty and that any rash would be scared away by the fat. Being 8, of course I believed her, but the rash, it did not go away. Several years later I found out it was actually crabs. I still to this day have no idea how me, an 8-year-old, obtained crabs. It's not like I went around rubbing my genitals over other children's genitals, and even if I did, would those genitals have crabs in them? I highly doubt it. I didn't go up to little girls and rub my genitals all over theirs. No, I certainly did not. Little girls scared me. Little girls still scare me. And I certainly didn't get them from the few friends that I had, as the few friends that I did have were imaginary. Although I don't think I would ever imagine imaginary friends who had crabs. And then would I rub my genitals up against theirs to gain these imaginary crabs? But then the crabs would be imaginary, so would I ever gain a rash? But maybe that's why my mother never saw the crabs, and just assumed that it was a normal rash that would go away with butter. But the crabs were imaginary. No one could see them but my imaginary friends, not even I. No, I doubt that. But I digress. I have left the topic of my mother and my lament. In her later years, Mother refused to call me by my given name, Edwardo Higginbottom III, and started calling me Francis. I still to this day have no idea why she chose the name Francis. Maybe it was just because it was a lovely name. Deep down I like to think that I have a brother out there, Francis, that she gave birth to as a young teen. But knowing that society would never accept it, gave the child away. Every time I meet a Francis, I'm sure he's my brother. Except for that one time when there was that girl called Francis. That totally rocked my world. Yet again, I get off topic. I've always loved my mother, but she's always put me in uncomfortable situations. Like that time she made me cut out that tumour in her back. I, a mere 12-year-old. Granted, I was a genius 12-year-old, but I wasn't trained in surgery. I was well skilled in the game Operation, and Mother thought that it would transfer over. The wound, of course, was infected, and 23 years later the infection actually killed her. I can't help but blame myself.